Welcome, dear hearts. And this week I have a very magical and mystical guest. She is Melissa Belle, and she is a Gridkeeper, but she's also a portal within herself to the mystical realms. And we're going to delve deeper into that a bit later in the conversation. But welcome, Melissa, and thank you so much for being willing to open your heart and share with us today your journey.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's quite an honor to be asked to be interviewed by you. So yeah, thank you. And hi, everyone.
You're welcome. I'm really looking forward to this conversation and to being able to enter into your mystical realms.
Yeah.
So as a light keeper, we have all designed our journey perfectly for us. And we have created experiences, awakenings to occur at different times in our lives to assist us to expand in some way, to gain higher sight, and all in the pursuit of going further inside to connect with the soul and to be able to be more of who we truly are here. So let's take you back to some of those early experiences for you of awakening and how that changed you completely, how you gained a new sight maybe, or connected deeper, or all of it, if you're happy to share.
Yeah, sure. Quite a long story, but I'll try and break it down. Trying to think. So one of the first big experiences I had actually was when I was about 16. And there was a girl in our neighborhood that had passed away very young, and I'd gone to her funeral, and I was very sad about this. And I started questioning in the church, saying, why? What is this all about? What is life? And this doesn't make sense. Why would things like this have to happen? And is there a bigger power orchestrating these things? And I was sitting in the church, and kind of out of nowhere, it felt like the veil was suddenly lifted, like something came in and lifted the veil. And all of a sudden I could see through, I don't know what people may call the distortions in the fields and these things, seeing how everything was back to front, topsy-turvy. Things weren't the way, the programs that were running this planet are the ones, they're not meant to be that way. And I suddenly realized there was something really wrong on the earth, and that none of us were in our hearts. So I was sitting at the dinner table with my mom and dad that night and looking at everyone and going, oh my goodness, like we're meant to be in our hearts. We're meant to be in our hearts, getting really panicked. And it was really serious. And they were all a bit kind of confused, I guess, about what I was talking about. But it seemed like such a huge revelation for me that humanity had lost touch with heart-centered consciousness. And I became aware of dark agendas playing out, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what was going on. But I went to the cinema, and I realized that they were using cinema movies to distract us and things like that. So that was my first awakening, I'd say. And I became quite spiritual after that, and learning to connect to a higher power of love that I felt surrounded me all the time. And then a few years later, I'd say I had another really big experience in Byron Bay. I decided to go to Byron Bay when I was 23 for the first time. And I went over there and met all these really spiritual people, and they liked crystals and meditation and all this stuff. And I realized, this is what I've been looking for. This is what's been missing, and I loved being in Scotland. I lived in Edinburgh for 5 years and loved it. But when I got to Byron Bay, I was like, no, these are my people. And, I feel like I'm meant to be here. So I had this really powerful experience in Byron Bay, and it actually started from doing a drawing. So I just had a Reiki attunement. So I was feeling really sensitive and really quite like high vibrational. And I did this drawing, and it was just like one of my ones that I do, kind of magical ones. And I was looking at it, and something happened. So it activated something in me, like in my energy field. And I suddenly had a really spontaneous, I'd call it like a Kundalini experience, in that I felt the energy in the base of my spine, and it moved all the way up. And it was, whoa, what's going on? And I basically blasted into this other dimension, this really high vibrational dimension. And all of a sudden, these beings were talking to me. And I was saying, because I had friends around and stuff, and I was saying, there's something talking to me. Oh my goodness. And they were giving me messages for people. So they were saying, say this to this person and give this person this advice. I'm like, what's going on? And basically, the last message they delivered me, they were saying to me, you're not who you think you are. You came here to help the planet. It was so mind-blowing that they were saying this, and that you didn't come from this planet, you came here to help, and you're about to embark on a journey that's going to be really challenging, and there's going to be quite a lot of interference to kind of stop you from getting to the end of this journey, but you can't really mess it up. So yeah, and then they prophesized this journey I was about to embark on, and it did manifest, because I went home and I told my mom, I got this message that I came here on a mission, and no one understood what I was talking about. And for quite a while I just questioned, was that even real? Like, what was that? But now that's 5 years ago, I can see that the journey they prophesized really did manifest. So yeah, here I am, and it's led me to New Zealand. So
that's so beautiful.
Mm.
So you are a Gridkeeper, and so following that, did the call to move around start straight away? What happened between that experience and then starting to journey around?
So I had to go back to Scotland because my visa ran out. So I was only in Scotland for 2 or 3 months, but I'd booked my flights back to Australia because I just fell in love with Byron Bay and just thought, no, I have to be there. And funny, because I got back to Byron Bay, and all of a sudden I get there ready to kind of settle in again and have fun like what I was doing over there. And I got this message, no, you're not meant to be here right now. So I had to leave really suddenly, like pack my bags, and I ended up being called to Belle, Ubud in Bali. And then, oh whoa, I've been all over the place. I've been back and forward, back to Byron, back to Ubud, back to Byron, and then coming to New Zealand, so the top of the North Island of New Zealand, and I lived there for about 18 months, and then came here to the South Island. So yeah, there's been a lot of moving around, and sometimes it's been kind of like, I don't want to go, and I don't understand why this is happening. But in hindsight, I look back and go, oh, okay, I can see. Is that my soul is leading me?
Yes.
Even if my mind can't.
Yes, exactly. And the high insight is wonderful, because at the time we don't get to see or understand the multidimensionality of why we are there. We could have one explanation or another, but then after we've moved out of that situation, then sort of many other layers to present themselves, which is amazing. So we could play with and say, maybe you were walking into new dimensions within yourself, and you were ready to experience new frequencies from within yourself, and the energetic match of that were these places. But also because you are a light keeper, then the frequencies that you hold, you're moving to these places, you're emitting these frequencies out. You're sharing your codes with others and with the land, and the land is sharing with you, and all of that. So it's just an alchemy. It's really, really beautiful. And it's such a, I don't know, it's so expansive. It's also assists us to detach as well when we get to have to move quickly to new places. We are sort of breaking down all programs without even realizing it, and we're not allowed to get into a rhythm of something, a pattern of something.
True.
You have to stay sort of malleable and flexible.
Yeah, totally. I've never thought about it that way, but yeah, it stops you from developing new programs. I guess it's just a lot of clearing and moving on and expanding. Yeah, there's no time to stay stuck.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was another experience that had a profound effect on you as well when your father passed away.
Yeah.
And that was when you were still only 19, so you were still very young. How did that affect you, and what expansions came after that now when you're looking back?
Okay. Yeah, so Dad and I always had a really special connection. Since I was a little girl, I felt this magic between us, I guess. And I look back now and realize that we had a really big soul contract. And funnily enough, I've always been quite psychic. And even when I was a little girl, I knew he was going to die. I never told anyone, never shared it with anyone, but I had this really deep intuitive knowing that he was going to die. And it wasn't nice to know that actually, but in hindsight, it was a blessing because it helped me to prepare for it because he died very suddenly. So he had a heart attack and died really, really suddenly when he was playing football one night. It was really shocking, and I suppressed my grief for quite a long time because I was at university at the time when he died when I was 19. So I never had the time to grieve his passing. So that all came up as part of the journey when I left, to go on this path. A lot of it was healing the grief of his loss, but it was all kind of mixed in with the grief of who I was. And it felt like a way bigger grief than just losing him, even though that was really big. It was a cosmic grief almost. And I went through all the stages of the grief cycle, the denial and the anger and a really deep depression that was like a dark night of the soul, really. And I finally came to this acceptance part of the grief. Oh, and I'd add, this was also mixed in with me awakening. So I was awakening to the matrix and the programs and seeing this darkness around me, like, these dark things running. But it was all just a mirror of myself. It almost like with my grief and my depression, the universe was showing me the dark beings and the dark agendas on the planet and things like that. And I finally let him go, and it was so connected to loving my own self and my inner child, so giving my inner child the love and nourishment she needed. And I realized she just wanted attention and love and to be safe enough to set him free, and when I did do that, it was so powerful and magical. It was in this beautiful sanctuary in the North Island of New Zealand, and I set him free, felt like I connected to him and set him free into the light. And my whole consciousness, as I did that, my whole consciousness shifted into my heart. It was like my ego started dissolving, and I just stepped boom into my heart. And I look back now and see the soul contract for us was for him to die, which is such a huge contract, so that I could have my heart open to continue this ascension path. So yeah, it was really beautiful, like bittersweet, the whole thing.
It's so incredible. I mean, for the linear mind, it wouldn't understand. But then we are souls, and we are here in assistance to each other. And yeah. I just love that when whenever a situation presents and it just reminds me, we are here in service. This is a play, and these are the actors that I have actually given them the script to say exactly this, to trigger me, to hold that perfect frequency that's going to really play with me. And so coming to that place of knowing or understanding, maybe, assists to bring us back to peace, to love again, and to remember, okay, so my soul has instigated all of this. What am I learning? How can I expand here? And it's always, as you say, it's always through love. So it's beautiful.
That's always the answer, really. Like the initiations we go through, the love is always the answer in one way or another. It will manifest in lots of different ways, but that will be the answer.
And I'll make this connection because for me, going into the heart and opening deeper realms within myself is how I see that I work, say. But I can see with your journey how you have, by doing this, going deeper and deeper within your own heart and the expansions that come, we are entering then into new realms as we go deeper. And so now you have entered into, because you're a very magical being, very creative, and that I will share later about the things that you create. But you're very artistic and you use these capabilities here. So you're sharing these mystical realms inside of yourself and the magical realms inside of yourself, which you have reached and you are now able to share. So what can you share with us a little bit about the mystical and the magical realms that you experience and how you see your world?
Okay, so this path, really, when I look back in hindsight, I can see the vision of the journey has been me crossing a rainbow bridge. And it's been to do with me walking over this bridge, helped by all my soul family that have probably been with me for many lifetimes. And I finally arrived at this place when I got to where I live now, which is Golden Bay in New Zealand. I got here and suddenly realized everyone was multidimensional, like just as I arrived. So I was seeing people like, oh wow, you're a fairy queen, and you're a vampire king, and you're a I don't know what, a shaman, and or a fox person, like all these different beings. And I would go visit these people in their houses and stuff when I started making friends, and I could see their whole reality was this, their own world. So I'm seeing these mystical dimensions all of a sudden, and it was so exciting. Like, wow, I've got this new gift where I can tap into these dimensions. And I realize now it's maybe that's what a mystic is, to be able to be in those, traverse the mystical realms, really. So and I realized in the mystical realms, I am a unicorn girl. So I'm like carrying the light, and I work for the light, and I've been initiated into the light, and I'm now in these new dimensions where I'm working in parallel realities at the same time. So not just the 3D world, but also the parallel other worlds, because I realized all these worlds exist simultaneous to each other in the now moment. So they're all parallel dimensions. And yeah, so that sparked a journey in itself, because I realized I was still a naive unicorn girl, and I still had a lot of kind of light worker training to do. And this is kind of the path I'm on now. I'm being initiated further into being a fully embodied light worker, fully healed and in her power, I guess. So
that's so beautiful. You see the magical realm, you see the fairy realms, and the angelic realms. How would you share what you see with us?
Oh, it's quite hard to describe. It's kind of like what's in people's energy field. So it's not necessarily that we'll see the full angelic realm, but I will see someone that has angelic things in their field, and it will manifest outside of themselves in their realm almost. So I'm aware, very aware. Here I live on a piece of land that's very mystical and magical, and I'm aware of the fairies around, and my unicorn's with me, and there's a dragon in the mountain, and there's loads of different vibrational realms interacting with one another. And just seeing everyone multidimensionally. So that's very clear to me. That's just how I see everyone now, just multidimensional beings. So
that's beautiful. So what is your life like there? I love the name Golden Bay. It's no coincidence. It's like very magical, it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Funny you should say that, because it's a very powerful portal, and it's called Golden Bay, and it makes you think of beautiful light, fun and sunshine. But it was also known by another name. I'm not sure when they changed it, but it used to be called Murderer's Bay, which is really funny, because it really shows the polarity of this place, that there's like really strong light. If you want to work with the light here, it's very, very strong, but the dark here is really dark too. And I visited this place 3 years ago, just for 1 week, when I was still going through my grief and my awakening of the dark systems. And I thought to myself, this is the darkest place I've ever been. It was just mirroring back to me my own suppressed darkness. And now that I've healed that and, moved into these higher dimensions of light, I'm just like, oh, it's the lightest place. So it's an intense place. It's beautiful, but not everyone has a good experience here. I think it's the kind of same with a lot of portals in the world. These energy centers, it just, they can be quite intense.
Yeah. And well, we can choose our experience, and also it assists us to see our frequency in
Yeah.
whatever is reflected back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So you work with the land there too. So you create grid works with crystals and things
Yeah. Yeah.
outside. I've seen
Yeah.
lots of lovely pictures on your Instagram with
Mm-hmm.
your,
Mm-hmm.
and they all feel magical and mystical. But when you take pictures of the land there, it's just, well, it's Hobbit land.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. It's
it's
so
just,
magical.
it sings. It's just
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's incredible.
Do
Yeah.
you
I,
enjoy creating the grids?
yeah, that's been a really spontaneous experience, I guess. So I live here with my partner that I met just before lockdown. So our story was really synchronistic in that I was meant to be with him for this lockdown. And he owns this land. It's 20 acres, and he loves trees. He's a big nature man. He loves planting trees and being in the garden, and he's very artistic, but with flowers and things like that. So it's really beautiful land. And just before he met me, he'd set up a little crystal grid on the lawn. And I think he'd been into crystals years ago, but he was just getting back into it. But since I've been here, we've kind of activated each other to start really working with them again. And yeah, I've got lots of crystals, he's got lots of crystals, and we lay them out just really intuitively, and we do rituals around them. And what I find really magical is that in the center of his grid, he's got stones from the center of Ireland when he visited Ireland, and he got these stones from this place where they used to crown the kings. And I just thought that was really, it's a little sign from another realm, that for me to be locked down here for the coronavirus seems quite strange. So yes, we're working very much multidimensionally with the mystical realms, and also I'm seeing the parallel past realms. So there's a lot of Celtic medieval energy here as well. And sometimes I think, oh my goodness, I feel like a medieval girl, and we're playing out past life stuff as well. So it's really pretty magical.
Wow. Take us even deeper, because I know you are experiencing the heaven, the paradise realms within yourself too. So if you can share a little bit about that.
Okay, so when entering into the mystical dimensions, I started seeing people as kings and queens, as magical kings and magical queens of their own realms. So I see we're all kings and queens of our own heavenly realms, and the kingdom of heaven is way more magical than what the Bible was saying. I think the Bible has a lot of truth in it, but it's been very heavily distorted through the energies to make it sound like this very serious kind of thing. But the reality of it, when you wake up to the heavenly dimensions and the kingdom of heaven, is that we are all mystical kings and queens of our own realities. And I guess that's what I'm seeing in those mystical realms, and we get initiated into our kingdom or our queendom to be able to be embodied divine sovereign beings. So it's a process and a journey of coming back to union with God, really. And when we are fully in union with God, we are sovereign and a queen or a king of our own reality as a co-creator as well. So
oh, that's beautiful. Can you see within your own journey how you have changed, or how your creations are changing, maybe physically in the things that you're producing, or in your reality, how that's subtly changing over time for you?
do you mean myself changing as well, or
Yes, yourself. Yes.
yeah, like I said, when I first arrived here in the Bay and I was seeing the mystical dimensions and I was this unicorn girl, I realized I was still very naive. I still lacked boundaries. I lacked discernment. I was a people pleaser, quite codependent. And these are the wounds I've been carrying, through my family lineage I've taken these wounds on. So this played out in the mystical realms, using your discernment, and you don't want to end up trapped with a vampire, and you don't want to let this being into your energy field, working in those dimensions, but also learning really kind of physical grounded stuff about healing, about being an empath and feeling worthy and things like that. So that's what I've been working on through my initiations, is to learn to have self-worth and value, and learning to say no, and stating this is not okay the way you're treating me, and lots and lots of lessons like that. And I'm slowly becoming stronger. So I can see the journey of a light worker is to gain that strength to actually be a warrior of light. Really, when we're not in our power, we can maybe, I feel a lot of light workers as empaths can be like lack self-worth and things like that. So the fully healed light worker is a warrior, really, that's fought the demons and has the boundaries and can say no, and is, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does.
Mm-hmm.
I know, because Todd Medina, who interviews many light keepers around the planet, he's mentioned before many times that he sees our life journeys as the hero's journey, that we are the hero in our own journey. And I love that. So there will be that we chose to transform all of it to be able to return back to who we truly are. And so we've created all these pit stops in the journey to rebirth and transform and all of that. So I love that. And let's talk about your beautiful creations. You have an Etsy store, and you create these beautiful and really delicate cards and little designs and things. And then on Instagram, you are continually creating. So I saw you had made this beautiful clay pot recently, and you'd made little antlers and this beautiful headpiece. So there's no bounds to what you are capable of creating. You just love creating whatever it is in whatever material. How did you get started with your Etsy shop, or get inspired to create in that way?
Into my artwork. Oh gosh, well, I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil, really, since I was about 4 years old. I've just wanted to draw, and I've gone through ebbs and flows with it. So sometimes feeling really inspired, and then in really difficult parts of my journey, I had no creativity whatsoever. But being here on this land, it's flowing so much, like always ideas. And we have a woman next door that does basket weaving, so I'm going to be doing that soon. And there's a pottery studio down the road, so I'm always in there. And I think my cards, that's come from gaining inspiration from the magic I'm seeing around me, but also it's been part of the journey too of worthiness and value. As I was saying about being an empath and a light worker, a part of that journey is affirming your value and saying, yeah, I do have worth, and people do want to receive my gifts, and I do have things to share. So it's been a really slow process, because I've wanted to create stuff for a long time, and I just had so many blocks that I couldn't get it out. It was weird. I'd make stuff, and then it would just be like, oh, this block, I just couldn't go any further with it. And finally things are opening up, and I've created my little store, and I sell my cards and paintings in the children's shop in town, and I also do the local market and stuff. So it's slowly opening itself up. I'm not going to go and have huge visions of what could happen with it, but I think just one step at a time, it's really nice thing to do, just to get it out there.
Beautiful sharing your light and your magic in that way is just gorgeous.
And they have codes in them as well, like what I said about Byron Bay. When I got activated by my drawing, I am sharing quite a unique frequency that can probably help to activate other light workers and things as well. So
where are you today, do you feel, in your, because this is we are on a continual embodiment journey, if you like. And so the embodiment might mean or be a different experience for all of us. how do you interpret it in your experience, and how do you feel you are moving into new awarenesses, or however it presents for you?
With embodiment, you mean?
Yes, yes.
I feel gradually I'm moving back into who I was all along. It's kind of this feeling of remembering who I was. It's not a case of becoming someone new. It was almost like shedding the layers of everything that I'd taken on that wasn't me. So as I healed the wounds and patterns and things from my ancestral lineage, I'm just remembering myself as this fully whole soul. And I always was a whole soul, but we, as light workers, we've come here to take on the wounds of the collective and of our ancestral lineages, and then to release them at the right time, which then shifts the grids and the fields, and things start moving in the world. And I think what's going on right now in the world is actually really positive. There's going to be darkness and a dark night of the soul collectively, but I think it's happening because enough light workers have done the work to shift the fields, and things are finally moving on a global scale. So yeah, and we need to be fully embodied for these times, because people are going to need help. I think there's going to be challenges for people, and we are going to be the ones that will be there to hold the frequency of the new earth. So yeah.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. I think it's such an exciting time to be here, and when owning and seeing ourselves as the ones who are creating from the heart, creating the new. We're moving away from the old, and we're going to be creating and building from a new foundation completely. Totally. There's an excitement in that there is. Change is a constant, and it is something to be open to, because there's always something new. And again, coming back to you and us really as being portals, we are continually moving through these portals, entering into new aspects of ourselves, discovering something new within us. That's as you say, that soul that's always been there. It was just hidden from us for a little bit, and we're just coming back to it.
Yeah, it's like diamonds covered in mud, and we've had to brush off the mud and clear the limiting beliefs and the programs and all this stuff of the collective consciousness, so we can finally start shining again. And I think it's time now for light workers to start coming out of the closet and saying, yep, I've taken the journey, and I'm here to be of service. I think many of us are getting to that point, and it feels good to be able to come out and say, this is who I am. And even just being asked to be on this interview is quite a thing for me, just for me to be able to share, this is me, and just for people to see that. So it's cool.
Wow, I'm so honoured, Melissa, that you joined us today and that you've shared your journey with us so beautifully, and you're emanating such a vibrant light. It's really beautiful. So I think New Zealand is very blessed to have you, and you're doing wonderful work there, and we can all feel you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. That's been awesome. Cool.